All right, guys, air conditioning and life made simple. Good morning. Good morning. Come on. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Man, we are, I know this sounds crazy, but we are about to hit 100 subscribers. And man, we bless you and we thank you for that. Jackie, my wife, and I, we bless you and we thank you. So Jackie does all the video editing and I go out and do the work. So today we have a call, okay? And we were called out, and I've got a little bit of history. We were called out to a job where the ductwork, I guess underneath the house, was starting to deteriorate and fall apart at the unit, okay? And so this guy who has an elderly mom was quoted anywhere from $2,500 to $18,000. And according to the son, the $25,000 or the $18,000 was not for duct replacement complete, okay? So he believes she was taken advantage of. And so that's why we're gonna come out, man. This is where I shine, I'm telling you. Like, because my conscience is clean, and I do everything in my power to maintain a clean conscience. And so, let's go see what it is. Maybe it's something crazy, or maybe it's somebody that's been taken advantage of. So let's go check it out. All right, so we're looking here underneath the house with the ductwork. You can see it's got the old wrap, but some of the integrity of the wrap is compromised. So there's some spots that need to be rewrapped, but the homeowners already wrapped a lot of it, and you can see the difference. You see the foil versus the white barrier. But then you see little spots like this here where the ductwork is exposed. And so we know that anytime hot air meets cold air, we have condensation. So let me take you this way so you can see where he's already wrapped it, and he did a great job on that. Here's we're going back towards where the unit penetrates the house. So here's our return, and really in this space here you don't need the return wrapped. I mean, you could do it, but that's not going to be our issue. And you can follow the trunk lines down to the plenum. So this is our plenum, and if I get close enough you can see this is the water. So this is it's just condensation. But look at, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get closer. It's tough to tell the condensation, but the whole plenum is condensating because they never, well, there's no insulation on the inside. Sometimes they'll wrap it on the outside, but sometimes they'll add insulation on the inside. And so that is an option. An option is to go in and put insulation ductboard. Let's see if I can zoom out. On the inside of this thing, just line it and go about it that way. It's a little tough for the top, but I think you could just wrap insulation on the top and fix that issue. So you can see the water down there. It's amazing how much condensation can develop. I mean, you can get gallons of water from just sweating. So here's a duct here that just It's sweating like crazy, dripping. But these are the supply ends, and this one here, I guess what happened to this one here? Just never had anything?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe afterthought or something like that. This supply. So this supply will need to be wrapped, and that is just right to wrap something like that. And here's where it bottlenecks down, and so this goes into a room that's right in here that they really don't need a lot of air, because it's just it's buried, it's down in the ground. So so the return, here's the return again. No condensation, anything like that. I think it's pretty straightforward, man. So I would say, what percentage of this duct needs to be fixed? And we're probably, man, maybe 10%, maybe. So I'm looking at this duct here. You can see we've got some little spores of mold, or we call it mildew. Mildew's better, a better word to use. But that right there can be wiped off 100%. This needs to be wrapped up here, and you can see why. Because that moisture will go into the wood and create, if you would, mildew again. So that needs to be wrapped. So those kind of things. But let me show you how, just because an outside has mildew, like this here, right? You see the spores, how it doesn't necessarily affect the inside. And so I'm opening up this insulation. You can see how clean and clear that is, because there's no moisture. Moisture is mainly developing on the top. Now, if we never close this up, then you could have that issue where this starts sweating and then mildew can start growing on the inside liner. But those can be easily fixed by just finding those open seams and going from there. I want to find one more duct. And look at the register boot. And let's just take a look at it. Okay, so there's one right here. Here's one here. Going up to the top. But you see there's a lot of insulation up here. There's the exposure of the boot. No sweat, no nothing, because it's insulated. So therefore the wood, the flooring won't be compromised in that. So yeah, he's already done that. All right, so we have some water dripping here. You can follow the spots, and it's because we're a little exposed where the new insulation is meeting. So just another wrap around that seam. Yeah. So yeah, and we'll talk about the cost. All right, so wasn't a service call, but it was a diagnosis, and as you can see in the video, it's really just a condensation issue, and it happens in a moist, dark environment where hot and cool meet. And so really, so there was, I said a quote of 18. The guy corrected and said it was 12,000. So from 2,500 to 12,000 were the quotes. And really, man, you saw what we need to do. It's like 2 ducts, maybe a couple of little repairs, patches here and there, bleach. The main thing is wrapping that plenum up real good. So what I would end up doing is just filling it out inside with duct board, and then wrapping it on the outside, sealing all the leaks and holes. And you know, I don't know what kind of quote I would give. I mean, maybe less than 1,000 for sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to discuss numbers, but way under those quotes. And so, but you see what we gotta, as air conditioning guys, man, what we gotta come up against. You know, you got big companies, and not all of them are big companies, but we have big companies that they've got bills to pay, you know. And sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes it's like the big churches out there. They got big bills to pay, you know. I think I worked for an air conditioning company that was big in San Antonio, and I can tell you that they charged, but not crazy like some of the other companies. And they were honest companies, so they didn't. They pushed a clean conscience, doing the right thing. Very godly based, and I think that you can do that as a small company and a large company. You don't need to rip people off. You know, I know you need money, but don't rip people off, right? Can we get frustrated right now? And a little older lady, but anyways, yeah. So I was able to give pointers to the son as well. Yeah, easy thing, easy job. Thanks for coming along, by the way, and for this ride. You know, I know we didn't fix the problem, but we know what the problem is, and we know how to fix it, right? So, yeah. Until the next one, follow us, subscribe, please. We're already over 100. I know it's not a lot, but it's a big thing. So, subscribe. Think about it. Share this video, comment if you've had an experience like this before. Comment. Another service call here. The service call was a weird noise coming from the return. So I'm underneath the house right now in Crawlspace. Here is the furnace right here, and I went up top to listen, and in that return right there, which is on the floor where the filter is, you could hear every once in a while like a like something is trying to start. It sounds like a motor that's trying to start, maybe with a bad capacitor, something like that. So I took this thing off, and I've been listening, and I don't hear it here. And I don't see any other motor in line for whatever reason that would be, like a booster fan. Crazy. So I don't hear anything. Let me crank this on. Looking at the fan speeds. So it looks like blue is for the heat fan speed, like a medium, and the black or high is for the cooling, but I don't hear any of that sound that I was hearing. Like a unless something else is in there. So this is part of the investigating, right? I'm gonna put this panel back on. Tight wires. First, let's make sure that the blower is really tight. So underneath is the blower. And I'm feeling it with my hands. So the bearing, I'm spinning the blower. And the bearings feel nice. They're not tight. What about our reversals things? The reversal wires up there. It's universal motor. Looks good, nothing burnt. So we may have to investigate a little more. Maybe pull off that return and see what's there. But so yeah, we have blower is blue, and then cool is black, high speed, and then the regular blower is medium. And these are all wired up good. I mean, you know what we could do is just check this capacitor right there. Bad capacitors do weird things, so we can do that too. So let's put this panel on right here, and let's let this thing run. And I'm gonna go upstairs also and pull that filter out and see if I can hear it. All right, so here's the return. I don't know if you could hear that noise, but it's not coming from down there. There's nothing that would be making that noise. So I think it's that right up there, attic fan or something like that in the attic. So we got to figure out how to open that up. I think that's what it is. It's not the HVAC. It's not the HVAC. All right, so we're in the attic right now. Yep, and it's 5,000 degrees in this thing. So let's go listen for that sound. Quickly. So we'll go back to where that sound is coming from. And I believe it is underneath this tarp. There's the motor. There's the motor for the exhaust fan. Yep. So, ooh, that's hot too. Very hot. Ooh, yeah. They need to find that breaker and cut that thing off. No plan, no doubt. It looks like it's over here. They'll have to get an electrician. I don't know if you can see that. Right there. That, you can't see it, but it's a junction box. All right, so straight up, that could have been a really big problem. So what they're probably gonna have to do right now is process of elimination, and that is to turn off the breakers one by one to that back area until the buzzing stops, which is actually a 1 horsepower motor. So if you know what I'm saying. Yep. Thank God I don't have to be up there for very long. All right. So we'll close this back up. And then I'm gonna go close this up. Let me put that other panel on. There's the outside unit. Definitely overgrown, but let me put this other panel on under here. So even though it sounded like it was coming from the return, it was not. You can see here there was a fire up here. It was probably flame was running out, blowing out through here at one time. They got it fixed, they said 14 years ago, but they still have a flex line running through this metal, which is no, that's a fire hazard in itself. So I'll recommend that. Safety first, right? But the unit's working okay in itself. The system is working okay in itself, which is a good thing underneath the house. But hard pipe coming in. Maybe an electrician come up there, disconnect that whole house fan. Yep. That's what they need to do. Close this thing up here somehow. Maybe. There's got to be a way to close that up. All right. So there we go. There we go. All right. Well, let's let the homeowner know what I found. Actually, I'm gonna put my ladder up and then we'll do paperwork. Another quick service call, huh? Very hot. Okay, so second call. I decided to put both of these calls on here because there really wasn't a lot of repair. I didn't record it, but the end of this service call, I cleared the drain line and washed the condensing coil out real quick with water. But really, it's not really an HVAC situation, but it is because it's a ventilation fan. So, man, at the end of the day, we found another switch for that attic fan, and somebody had kicked it on. But let me tell you something, that motor was hot. And I've seen attic fan motors, the 3/4 1 horsepower motors that are locked up like that. I've seen them where the whole house dims. Every light, every TV, everything. So very dangerous. So it's a good thing we found that. She called. It wasn't from the air conditioner. It just sounded like it, right? And so sometimes things in life deceive us, and it doesn't make sense, right? Let me pull on out of here. And so, look, in life, right? Sometimes we think, for example, like someone is thinking about us a certain way, and we don't know for sure, but we just eat on it. And it's not always positive, right? Like thinking negative But it's not always what it seems. I mean, it's happened. You can probably say the same thing, that, you know, it's not always what it seems. The next person come by and like, what? No. And you're like, all those years, right? But, you know, life is not always what it seems. And sometimes life can be deceptive. What we think of life in this world, it can be deceptive, deceiving. And make no mistake about it, there is a deceptive spirit in this world, and only the right spirit can help you, Jesus Christ. And he's the truth, right? So I hope you liked these 2 videos. It takes you on a service call mindset, so you can see what we deal with day by day basis, and no call is the same. None. Be blessed.